XLM wants to be the chosen platform for a digital dollar. Also, let me introduce you to one of the USA's most powerful regulator. Also, the right-hand man of Brian Brooks and Steve Mnuchin at the U.S. Treasury Department. And you guys are going to want to see the statements from the new OCC in charge of the banks, in charge of banks, basically the bank overseer at the OCC. We're going to talk about him also. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the Bullish Network. If you guys can smash some thumbs up, hit that subscribe. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just documenting my journey. First thing first, guys, I want to give a shout out to Tales from Crypto. Stellar wants to be the chosen platform for a digital dollar, XLM. Now, this is a really good article here, guys. So now, Stellar wants to be the chosen platform for a digital dollar. Stellar has achieved some big milestones in the last 5 years, but it has a lofty goal for the next and a half decade. So, Stellar wants to become the global payment standard in the next 5 years. Now, Stellar network upgrades are planned for June. Today, the Stellar Development Foundation shared its lofty goal to become the next global payment standard. Speaking at Consensus, Stellar CEO, no, I think this is what really compelled me to talk about this article, and I think this is what one thing that kind of got me interested in Stellar is Stellar CEO Denelle Dixon. No, basically, she has one hell of a resume, and also Jed McCaleb chose to let somebody else lead the company while he stays in the office in the lab creating and upgrading the project. I think that was a very good move on his behalf. You know, he's a poor businessman, but he is a genius when it comes to creating. He's responsible for co-creating XRP, XLM, the first crypto exchange ever. eDonkey kicked proceedings off with the current financial epidemic. Denelle Dixon says the existing financial infrastructure is outdated, operating on models that have been unchanged for decades. So she suggests which she suggests is forcing policymakers and governments and central banks alike to recognize a need for innovation. In response to Stellar, has been examining how to implement CBDCs. CBDCs was what exactly the type of digital money Stellar was designed for, connecting today's real-world financial infrastructure with a digital blockchain world, Dixon explained. Now, that's very interesting, guys. The network layer is very much like the internet, and it shouldn't be regulated, explains Dixon. Stellar itself is a layer that everyone can build on top of, so I don't see regulation with respect to that. Now, that's interesting. As Jed McCaleb says, we've talked to a few governments around the world about CBDCs. I still think it's pretty early, which is the good thing because we're pioneers. Now, Jed McCaleb ran through several technical upgrades to the Stellar ecosystem. Now, that's kind of interesting too, guys, because I'm kind of interested. I can only imagine what upgrades Jed McCaleb could create. Huge shout out to Tales from Crypto. Also, guys, this right here is one hell of an article. U.S. banking regulator suggests federal licensing framework for crypto firms. Huge shout out to G-Man and Tales from Crypto. I want to give a huge shout out to, U.S. banking regulator suggests federal licensing framework for crypto firms. Now, this is one hell of an article right here. This article lets me know that all the homework and research we put in, we're on the right track. We got the biggest regulators in the world backing and talking about digital assets. Now, a key bank regulator in the U.S. may and is open to allowing crypto companies to be licensed as financial institutions on a national level rather than state by state. Now, that's amazing because one thing is XRP is regulated on a federal level with FinCEN, the Treasury Department. It's not regulated on a state to state, and that's what's making regulation seem so slow and is slow. Now we got Brian Brooks recommending, hey, we just need to say if it's basically regulated on the federal level, that's fine, versus a rather than state by state. Brian Brooks, Chief Operating Officer at the OCC, the nation's national bank overseer, said Monday he believes crypto companies could fall under a federal licensing regime. Now, this is amazing, guys, because I'm a paralegal and I worked at the law office, and this is where I learned the difference between state and federal levels. Now, it's something I've been echoing on the show for years, that Ripple being regulated on a federal level is amazing, but it's not being recognized on the state level is what's also kept them not talking about XRP, because as of right now, it'd be kind of against the law to move from state to state. So, and of course, they're not mentioning it. Also, they're suppressing the price. But anyway, speaking at Consensus Virtual Conference, a former Coinbase chief legal officer said many crypto companies are payment companies, Ripple, and therefore might make sense to treat these startups and other fintech firms like Stripe. Now, that's a massive breadcrumb for him even saying Stripe out of his name, the same way as banks are treated federally. Guys, I'm here to tell you that Stripe, and this is another reason I covered the Stellar article, because at one time, Stripe tried to buy Ripple. Now, Ripple turned the deal down, but Jed McCaleb wanted to sell Ripple to Stripe. The deal fell through, and Jed McCaleb created XLM and partnered with Stripe, and Stripe invested in XLM. So this is really interesting here, guys. Stripe is a very big deal, and if they still have a working relationship with XLM, it could be a game changer for XLM. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Now, crypto is one of them areas where we have to ask ourselves, does it make more sense to think of crypto projects as a local project or a global project? Globalization is here. If they're global, then the rationale for a single national license makes more sense. He's basically saying, hey, let's cut the chase. Let's get to it. This will give these startups an alternative to the state level money transmitting license when building operations. He's trying to go from A to Z. He pointed out stablecoins, some tokens, where crypto startups might look more like banking services. Now, there's some really good stuff in here. The fintech charter is based on the idea that banks took deposits, made loans, and were involved. Too big to bank. Brooks also addressed some issues in startups tapping banking services, saying any crypto that is compliant with laws should be able to tap their services. This is Brian Brooks issuing, and he's saying that he's going to let them know too. He's basically saying any company that are, also address the issue that crypto startups have tapping banking services, saying any company that is compliant with laws should be able to tap these services. And this is why this came out today. JPMorgan Bank takes on Coinbase and Gemini, because what OCC has been working on right here, guys. And I believe this is why he also was at Coinbase also. They're connecting these companies. Coinbase, because now Coinbase is partnering with JPMorgan. Brian Brooks just left Coinbase, and now he's going back to the Treasury Department, or to the Treasury Department. The U.S. Department of Treasury's mission is to maintain a strong economy and create economic and job opportunities by promoting the conditions that enable economic growth and stability at home and abroad, strengthen the national security, and protecting the integrity of the financial system, and manage the U.S. government's finances and resources. Now, also, Brian Brooks is going to the most powerful organization, the Financial Stability Oversight Council, which is the United States federal government organization established, the Dodd-Frank, the U.S. federal government signed into law. Financial Stability Oversight Council is an arm of the U.S. Treasury Department. Now, in this department, guys, I've showed you this before. This is the voting board members. These are the most powerful men in the U.S. This is Steve Mnuchin, Jay Clayton, SEC Chairman. Here's Jerome Powell, Fed Chairman. Here's Joseph Otting, the one I'm using on the thumbnail. He's on the chair at OCC. Now, Brian Brooks is going to the OCC. Now, what's interesting about this is you guys know that Steve Mnuchin, Brian Brooks, and Steve Mnuchin, Joseph Otting, and Brian Brooks all owned One West Bank. How the hell do you get three guys that owned a bank now basically in charge of the economy? Because, like I said, it's Brian Brooks, Joseph Otting, and Steve Mnuchin. Now, Brian Brooks is saying, I love the way he's talking. These technologies that exist can... Now, it's going to be down here. This is a really good part. Okay, watch this, guys. As crypto matures, there are increasingly many companies that have perfectly robust risk management systems and do have the ability to comply with those laws. And they shouldn't have trouble finding bank relationships. And again, one of my messages in my new role is going to remind my colleagues at the OCC that banks not only have the ability, they have the obligation to serve lawful businesses. They shouldn't discriminate because of something a new because something's a new technology. Wow, that's amazing. He says, when I get back to the OCC, I'm going to remind my colleagues that if it's a lawful business, they shouldn't be discriminating because of the new technology. That's pretty much saying the green light for digital currencies. That's huge. And this is the kind of news we get out of that right there, out of bold statements. JPMorgan bank takes on Coinbase and Gemini. Amazing. Tuesday, the bank signed two popular related exchanges, Coinbase and Gemini. The fact that both exchanges are regulated in the U.S. was apparently a factor with the approvals, which still took a lengthy voting period. This is an amazing article right here. Last week, okay, you guys see that right there. Okay, so this is my biggest thing, guys. For Brian Brooks to be at Coinbase, I believe that he was already working with Steve Mnuchin and Joseph Otting the whole time. Now he's leaving Coinbase and going back to the Treasury Department. They're going to implement this technology globally. They're going to put some speed on this initiative. That's what they're doing. And this, like I said, this is the biggest organization in the world. And one thing that jumps out at me here is Jake Clayton, who's also on the FSOC, is the organization. Now, Jay Clayton is also responsible for some of the largest IPOs in history. He's responsible for the IPO of Alibaba, which is the biggest IPO in history. Its initial public offering, damn near the same thing as initial ICO, which is initial coin offering. And I believe that this is the way we're going to move forward in the future with tokenizing these, fundraisings, companies, IPOs. They're going to be launching these through exchanges also. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Now, really, really quick, guys. And last week, hedge fund pioneer Paul Tudor Jones revealed his Tudor BVI Global Fund is now authorized to invest in Bitcoin futures. Jones told CBNC that he holds 1%, 2% of his assets in Bitcoin. So I'm kind of interested in who Paul Tudor Jones was. I looked him up. Net worth $5 billion. So if he holds 2% of his net worth, I believe is that $100 million, I believe. Let me know in the comments. What's a 2% of $5 billion? Is that $100 million in Bitcoin he holds? So that's pretty significant right there that they're covering that. But for this news to come out right here, guys, and Brian Brooks, and I mean, this is what we know. Like, we've done our homework and research. We're covering these elites that control the financial system, and you see what they're saying. And this is one more thing about this real quick is Brian Brooks is recommending that we regulate these companies on a federal level. This is a big difference between the Token Taxonomy Act, where the representative of whatever district he's in, he recommends a bill and it's voted on. When Brian Brooks, he's not recommending a bill. He's basically telling you what we're going to do. This is the Treasury Department. They're basically that, how we're going to proceed. This is the Trump administration right here. It doesn't get no bigger. So, guys, buckle up. It's going to be a hell of a ride. I want to give a huge shout out to my brother Deshaun, the legend Goodwin. Also, I got this MoneyGram article from him right here. MoneyGram digital business surges in April with strong customer growth. Deshaun, the legend Goodwin. Thank you so much for that article, my brother. MoneyGram digital business surges in April. Dallas, MoneyGram, the largest component of the digital business, delivered 93% transaction growth in April. The largest component of the digital business delivered 93% transaction growth in April. Some country growth rates exceeded 1,000%. Many key markets delivering growth of over 200%. Holy moly. I've been on a mission to mobilize the movement of money and accelerate the evolution of digital payments, said Alex Holmes of MoneyGram, CEO. Guys, I'm telling you, I think MoneyGram is going to be a huge, big deal also. Now, if you guys don't have MoneyGram, link in the description for my brother XRP Viking's MoneyGram Robinhood link. If you join Robinhood, you will both get a free stock of MoneyGram. And in 3 days, I apologize. If you join Robinhood, you'll both get a free stock. And then within 3 days, you can convert that stock into MoneyGram if you join Robinhood. So shout out to Viking, and that's his link right there. Guys, one thing I'm really excited about, and I've been talking about a lot lately, is Binance, the Binance chain, and Binance Exchange, and Binance Exchange launched pad tokens. Now, Binance invests in regulated Indonesia crypto exchange. Guys, Binance also just vested into a regulated Indian crypto exchange. Binance got approval from New York Department of Financial Services to launch Binance US. I truly believe that CZ is a made man because of the volume and how big Binance got. I think it was a deal for the US to get their data, but here nor there. But I'm here to tell you guys, I think CZ's a made man, and he is basically making a lot of moves. But within the cracks where the government allows it to exist, cryptocurrency trading appears to be flourishing in the world's fourth most popular country. Although there is no independent data showing just how big the local crypto market is. Industry sources speaking. So I thought that was really interesting here, guys, because you know how much around the world we're actually dealing with inaccurate data or not real volumes. I think that's a major issue too. Wait till the real volumes show. So also, guys, they got the Binance Launchpad tokens. We've been covering those lately. You can, follow me. I tweet about those on the Bullish Network on Twitter. Matic was also pumping last night at 13%. Also, Binance invests in first regulated crypto exchange. Here's our ERD, which is a Binance Launchpad token. It was pumping 9%. So my thing is, guys, if this Binance Launchpad is going to be big as I know it's going to be, or I believe it's going to be, and how big CZ believes it's going to be, it's going to be a game changer. That's for sure. Okay, guys, the Bullish Network logo will come down right now. The bull. Smash that bull to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Smash that thumbs up. And you will be notified when I release a video daily. Much love. Mahalo.